out of the 12 steps, we've made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. Now, I do have a dog that I like walking. He's a golden doodle, and he is getting big fast. Sometimes he thinks he's a horse. He jumps up on the back two legs and he paws at things. And him and I go for walks during the day. And so the other day, he does this all the time. I'm walking with him and he sees a butterfly or a fallen leaf and he turns at it and paws at it and he'll hop on 2 feet. And then he doesn't like me walking him all the time, so I make him heel. He's got to do my will. But sometimes he thinks it's funny. He'll turn and look at me and he'll bite the leash. And then he thinks he's walking himself. He'll bite it and he'll kind of look at me like, nah, you don't have control over this one. I got control now, pal. He thinks he's walking himself. He thinks he's doing his will. He doesn't realize I'm the one holding the leash. I want us to will to do the will of God. Today we meet a man named Cyrus. If you have a Bible, go ahead and turn to Isaiah chapter 44, verse 28. And it says, Cyrus, who I call by name, he is my anointed one. He is my servant. He will do my will. I will cause him. I will stir up his heart to allow the exiles to go back to Jerusalem. And they can rebuild the temple. They can rebuild the city. And Cyrus, who I call by name, will do this. This was written many years before Cyrus was even born. The prophet Jeremiah talked about Cyrus, saying that there would be 70 years. And on the 70th year of the nation's exile, they'd be allowed to go back. 2 weeks ago, we spoke of Zedekiah, the last king of Judah, who was captured, and he rebelled against the king of Babylon, whose name was Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar took Zedekiah into captivity years before. He had taken other kings into captivity. But it was a powerless man, a man who lost his eyes, who saw his son slain. Terrible consequences fell upon him for his rebellion. He learned what it was to be powerless. And then we looked at Nebuchadnezzar, who conquered Jerusalem. And then he got so high and mighty, God took his mind from him. And it wasn't until he turned to God that his sanity was returned to him. And now we see Nebuchadnezzar is dead. His son is on the throne for a short time. And he was given to debauchery and all these parties. And the hand of God wrote on the wall, many, many tekel parson. You've been weighed, measured, judged. And he comes to Daniel. And Daniel had been in exile since the beginning of the exiles. And by now Daniel's an old man. And the son of Nebuchadnezzar says, what does it say? And he says, you're doomed. You see, in another part of the kingdom, some years before, there was a king of the Medes. And he had this dream that troubled him. In his dream, there was a seed that fell in his daughter's room and grew this massive tree that broke through the palace. The historian Herodotus records the story. He goes to his wise men and says, what does it mean? And the wise men say, your daughter will have a child that will have a bigger empire than you. He'll overshadow you. And a year goes by and he has another dream that from his daughter's room a flood comes and destroys the palace and washes out the whole city. And he says again, what does it mean? And they say, you know what it means. Your daughter is going to have a child and he's going to rule over the world. And so he decided that he would marry the princess to a lowly man of another country. And so she would never have a chance at having a royal son. And so she conceived. She got pregnant. And when the baby was about to come, the king got insecure again. And he told one of his bodyguards, go take the baby when it comes out. Tell her it's stillborn. And leave the child exposed on a hill. And so once the baby came out, the mother named the baby Cyrus. His name will be Cyrus. And the bodyguard took the baby and said, I'm sorry, but Cyrus is dead. And he ran outside and he went a little ways to a hill and he left the baby exposed to the elements. It just so happened that once he left, there was a slave that lived nearby. And his child was truly born, stillborn. And he was going to that same hill to bury his child. And so he saw what appeared to be a miracle. And so he switched the garments. He put the peasant garments on the little royal baby and the royal baby garments on his child. And he came back to his wife and said, the gods have blessed us. They've given us back a child. What should we name him? And the wife said, name him Saicho, which in their language means the little dog. And so for a time, Cyrus was raised by slaves. And everybody called him the little dog. Come here, little dog. Come over here, little dog. hey, go fetch the stick, little dog. And as the years went by, he was a young teenager, and him and some of the kids were playing a game called Kingdom. And the king, who lived close by, had some visitors, some wealthy men, and they met these kids, and they were all playing like kids do, and they decided that Sideshow would be the king. And he ordered the noblemen's children to go build a bridge and to do manual labor. And they said, we're not doing manual labor. Do you know who our dad is? And he said, well, I'm the king today. And he took a stick and he had those boys beaten. They ran back to their rich dads, and the dad went to the king and said, you got some slave boy beating our children? I demand he be punished. So they brought Sideshow before his grandfather that he didn't know was his grandfather, who was the king. And they said, you're being charged with assault. You beat these noblemen's sons? And this little boy had some audacity, some confidence. He said, you're a king. What would you do? They made me king, and they didn't obey my orders, so of course I punished them like a king would do. And the king started laughing, and then he saw his resemblance. And he said, who is this boy? And he called for the boy's parents. And they told the story, and he realized that this was not Sideshow the little dog. This was Cyrus the great heir. And Cyrus would be given a job in the military, and he would win victories, and then his grandfather would be insecure, and they would have a civil war, and Cyrus would win the civil war. In the midst of these battles, he loved riding his horses. He had one horse he loved the most. He came by a river, and he thought he could cross it, but the horse was taken and drowned. And so he took all of his men for 7 days, and they cut all these tributaries, all these streams off the river, and so they drained it. And then he stood and said, thus Cyrus has killed the river. Cyrus had this great vision of someday conquering Babylon, but the walls of Babylon were too big. It was too well fortified. It was a joke to ever conquer that city. But on the night where God's hand was writing on the wall, Cyrus was not going over the wall. There was a river that went under the wall. And Cyrus, just like he got revenge for his horse, he cut that river into tributaries. And so all of his men simply went under the wall, and in one night they conquered Babylon. When he killed the king of Babylon, he met old man Daniel. Josephus tells us about this. Go ahead and look. There's a few other passages where we see him. Look at 2 Chronicles 36 at the